Welcome to Keble Chapel for this evening of poems and songs of love as we think about St Valentine's Day, which falls at this time of year. I want to start just by saying an enormous thank you to all the different people who'll be sharing poems and songs with us today. We're not going to clap or applaud today because it will break up the flow of things, but we're enormously grateful and we're very much looking forward to what you have to share with you. At the end of your little booklet, you'll find a bit of information about future events that are happening. Not least, next Wednesday is Ash Wednesday, which will have a Eucharist with imposition of ashes to mark the start of Lent. But also next week is one of the musical highlights of the year as well, the Keble Early Music Festival. And I've given you the website that you need to find out about all the great musical events that will be taking place next week. Do please come along to some of those as well. To begin our reflections today, I wanted to start with something ancient. A little bit later on in our evening, we'll hear a love poem from the ancient Hebrew tradition, words from the Song of Songs sent by William Walton. But to begin with today, I wanted to start with something from the world of the Greeks. And so this is a poem by Sappho, fragment 16, translated by Gillian Spraggs. Some say it's a force of cavalry, others of foot, others of ships. But I say that the most beautiful thing upon the black earth is whatever it is you desire. It's easy enough to make this plain to all, for she who was far more beautiful than any woman of mortal race, Helen, abandoned her husband, the best of men, and went sailing off to Troy. She remembered neither her child nor her much-loved parents, but Aphrodite led her astray. This has made me think of Anactoria, who isn't here. Her step, which stirs desire, and the bright sparkle of her face, are dearer sights to me than the chariots of Lydia and armed men fighting on foot.
Walks in Beauty by Lord Byron. She walks in beauty like the night of cloudless climes and starry skies, and all that's best of dark and bright meet in her aspect and her eyes, thus mellowed to that tender light which heaven to gaudy day denies. One shade the more, one ray the less, had half impaired the nameless grace, which waves in every raven tress, or softly lightens o'er her face. With thoughts serenely sweet expressed, how pure, how dear their dwelling place. And on that cheek, and o'er that brow, so soft, so calm, yet eloquent, the smiles that win, the tints that glow, but tell of days in goodness spent, a mind at peace with all below, a heart whose love is innocent.
In Trite Rhymes by Wisława Szymborska. A great joy, flower upon flower, the branches stretch in pristine blue. But there's a greater. Today's Tuesday, Tomorrow will bring mail from you, and still greater, the letter trembles, strange reading it in spots of sun. And still greater, just a week now just 4 days, now it's begun. And still greater, I kneel on top and make the suitcase lid shut tight. And still greater, the train at 7, just one ticket, thanks, that's right. And still greater, rushing windows with view on view on view on view. And still greater, dark and darker, by nighttime I will be with you. And still greater, the door opens, and still greater, past the door, and still greater, flower on flower. Oh, who are all these roses for?
Your hands lie open in the long fresh grass. Their finger points look through like rosy blooms. Your eyes smile peace. The pasture gleams and glooms 'neath billowing skies that scatter and amass. Round our nest far as the eye can pass, a golden king-cup fields with silver edge, where the cow parsley skirts the hawthorn hedge. 'Tis visible silence, still as the hourglass. Deep in the sun-searched groves, the dragonfly hangs like a blue thread loosened from the sky. So this winged hour is dropped to us from above. Oh, clasp we to our hearts, for deathless town, this close companion in a particular town, when two-foot silence was the
Love Without Hope by Robert Graves. Love without hope, as when the young bird catcher swept up his tall hat to the squire's own daughter, so let the imprisoned larks escape and fly singing about her head as she rode by. I love thee. Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach, when feeling out of sight, for the end of being an ideal grace. I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need, by sun and candlelight. I love thee freely as men strive for right. I love thee purely as they turn from praise. I love thee with the passion put to use in my old griefs, and with my childhood faith. I love thee with a love I seem to lose with my lost saints. I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life, and, if God choose, I shall but love thee better after death.
Some words from W.H. Auden's great poem, Tell Me the Truth About Love. Some say love's a little boy, and some say it's a bird. Some say it makes the world go around. Some say that's absurd. And when I asked the man next door, who looked as if he knew, his wife got very cross indeed and said it wouldn't do. Does it look like a pair of pajamas, or the ham in a temperance hotel? Does its odor remind one of llamas, or has it a comforting smell? Is it prickly to touch as the hedges, or soft as eider-down fluff? Is it sharp, or quite smooth at the edges? Oh, tell me the truth about love. W.H. Auden was a poet who spent much of his life trying to understand the meaning of love and give articulation to it in his verse. In fact, when he died, they found amongst his possessions a small white notebook in which he tried to describe with line drawings the trajectory of the loves of his life and how they moved forwards in anticipation and excitement and then backwards in rejection and despair, and how sometimes it was like a whole spider's web of emotion as he tried to get a bit closer day by day to the truth about love. But at the end of the day, perhaps as that poem suggests, his conclusion was that love is a subject that can only fundamentally be addressed by questions. It's a subject that always remains beyond us, a subject over which we never quite think we have control, and of which we never quite have a grasp. And that's the case, I think, because at the heart of love lies something of a paradox. In one sense, most of us know in our heart of hearts that you can't make somebody love you. In fact, if you try to make somebody love you, it probably makes them run away and go further away the harder you try. You can't make somebody love you, but most of us spend most of our lives trying to do just that. Most of us spend a lot of our time working on ourselves, away with kind of the hammer and chisel, as it were, trying to knock off a few rough edges here and there, file this indecorous bit of ourselves away, change something, make this a bit more attractive, make that a bit more exciting, in the hope that we can somehow make ourselves lovable, and then once we've made ourselves lovable, somebody might actually want to love us. Whether that's romantic love, whether that's the love of a parent, whether that's the love of a hero or a teacher or somebody we respect, we hope that if we make ourselves more lovable, somehow they might decide to love us. And yet, in reality, I think, almost the opposite is true. It's when somebody else loves us first that we discover that we're actually lovable. While we're busy in the business of kind of contorting and squeezing and twisting ourselves up to make ourselves loved, we become profoundly dissatisfied with who we are. But when we're loved by someone else, without condition, without expectation, some of those rough edges drift away and dissolve and kind of warm up and disappear of their own accord. And some of those rough edges we learn to embrace as the kind of quirks and eccentricities that make us who we are, the very things that make us lovable, the very things that make us loved. And when we first think about that, it seems like a sad paradox. If only we could make people love us. If only we could work away at ourselves, the one thing over which we might think we have some kind of control. If only we could work away at ourselves in such a way that other people, the world, whatever, might love us. But actually, when we realize that love is a gift, love comes first. The love of another. It's the most profoundly liberating thing there is. Because we can gain a confidence just to allow ourselves to be in this world and in this community with which we're surrounded. We can allow ourselves to see where all that love is coming from. We can allow ourselves to look up rather than looking down and inwards always. Look up and look out and see other people for who they are and feel like the sunshine which is just starting to break through the clouds at this time of year. Feel the warmth of the love of others upon us and kind of sunbathe in it, absorb it, and allow it to nourish us and nurture us and transform us and allow us to become our own true selves. And through becoming our own true selves, to be so much less self-absorbed and so much more genuinely open to others, open to receiving their gift of love, and open to offering our gift of love for free, without reserve, without expectation, without condition.